Hello and welcome to Telile Today. Today we are here at the Department of Natural Resource Office in St. Peter's, and we're going to speak to Trevor Wilkie on the forest fires that the department here assisted in helping fight, I guess, this summer out west. And joining me is Trevor Wilkie. Hello, Trevor.
How are you doing today?
Great. Now, I think we better clear that you are not the only person that works here at Department of Natural Resources. There is quite a significant staff, isn't there?
Yeah, there's myself and 5 other technicians, plus our fire crew and survey crew.
Right. It just seems that everybody, when we say we want to talk to somebody at DNR, they pass the buck to you. Do you get paid extra for this?
I wish. No, I do most of the wildlife work and that. It's kind of more the high-profile stuff, I guess.
Right. Now, today we're interested in talking to you, Trevor, about the forest fires out west that I understand a lot of the crew from this office went.
Yeah. We had 3 technicians went out this year on 3 different call-outs. We had Mike Hill went out, was the first one out. He went to Alberta. Danny McLean went to BC with the provincial fire agency. And I went out a week after Danny to the national park call-outs in Kootenay National Park.
Okay. Now, can you tell us how these forest fires started out there? Do they know?
The vast majority all started by lightning.
Oh.
Yeah, lightning probably causes 90-95% of the fires out there.
Okay. Before we go away from home, I'd like to talk about here in Nova Scotia. How fortunate, I guess, maybe, are we here in Nova Scotia when it comes to forest fires?
We've been really lucky. We have great access with the roads. Our local volunteer fire departments are usually on scene well before we get there. Due to our climate, normally we have a lot of wet weather with our thunder and lightning. The vast majority of our fires are human-related. You know, we have a few start from lightning strikes, but the vast majority are human. And the people are getting pretty well educated on burning and that. So we're pretty lucky around here.
Now, when you went, what time of the year was it when you went?
It was the latter part of August. We left, I think it was on the 16th of, August. Left the 16th of August. We were back home on September 2nd. Usually go out for a 2.5 week tour.
Okay. And at that time when you left, how long was the fire burning then?
It's going for the end of July, the one we were on. We're basically a complex of fires. There's 2 or 3 different fires we were on in Kootenay National Park, and I had another crew up in Revelstoke National Park. I think. Now, the national parks, they have a different theory in their fires. They're trying to reintroduce it into the landscape as part of a natural cycle. So they were just basically trying to protect structures and keep from high-value areas.
Okay.
Like they weren't concerned about timber values or resources compared to the provincial agency.
Okay. Now, what structures are you talking about in a provincial park?
That was the national parks out there. Like there's Kootenay, Yoho, Banff, and Jasper National Park. They're all joined. And some of the things they were looking at was warden cabins, bridges on the hiking trails, campgrounds. And what they do a lot of times is, well ahead of the fire, they'll go in with a sprinkler system and let it soak down the area. That they protected an entire campground just by putting a perimeter of sprinklers around it.
Okay.
And the fire basically burnt right up around it, right over it, and protected it.
Wow. Do we use that here in Nova Scotia?
We have, but not very often.
Okay.
We don't really have the time that they do to play with that stuff. You know, most of our values, we got to, attack right away type of thing. But they were like be a week ahead, they could start soaking down an area.
Right. And it's very effective, obviously.
Yes, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess maybe you can walk us through. You get a call here saying that help is needed out west to fight them fires. And how is it determined who's going to go and when?
Basically, the province requests and makes a call to CIFC, which is a Canadian Centre for Forest Fire Control. And they'll make the call out to the other provinces, see what resources they have available. Could be people, could be equipment, like such as fire pumps, helicopters, aircraft. They'll call out. They usually start, if it starts in BC, they usually start working their way east.
Okay.
And depends on the index of the province at the time, how many they can send. The way we do it here in Nova Scotia You fill out, it's called a PARQ form, just expressing your interest to travel other province fighting fires. And in our office here, we do a rotation. I was the last one out, so now I'm on the bottom of the list, and just rotates that way when we get the call. And the call comes into our head office, our head fire center in Shubenacadie, and they have the list there. They make the call to the supervisors, give approval for their technicians to head out, and everything. And when I went out this year, the call out I was on, we had 3 technicians from Nova Scotia, 5 members of our Helitack crew, 2 technicians from PEI, and 10 firefighters from Newfoundland as the 20-person group. They want a 20-person crew when they leave.
Oh, okay.
And if we can't do it, we'll get together either New Brunswick, PEI, or Newfoundland to form 20 people.
Okay. So, this is how you go about the process, but when you get there, how you fly in, obviously.
Yeah.
When you get there, do they have like a headquarters or something, and
Yeah.
what's the process then?
Yeah. Well, this trip I was the liaison officer or agency representative, and when we get there, flew into Calgary, went to the motel. Then I went over, and a couple of the crew leaders went over to the Parks Canada headquarters. They gave us a quick debriefing on what was going on, made our travel arrangements. The next day we traveled up to Kootenay National Park, the 10 guys from Newfoundland and PEI, and the rest of Nova Scotia guys went on to Revelstoke National Park.
Oh, why did they separate you? If they wanted 20 from this area, why would they separate you when you get there?
They're just demand for manpower.
Oh, okay.
Like Revelstoke had a fire going, and they needed a few extra crews, so it kind of split up that way. And once we arrived at the Kootenay and Revelstoke, the fire management officer there, or the incident commander, he gave the crews a more specific rundown, and they were broken up into specific areas to work.
Okay. So, once you're debriefed and you've got this rundown, you're actually out there? And what are you doing when you get out there?
Yeah. Well, every morning they start off with a debriefing. Okay. You get your assignment for the day. It could be anywhere from initial attack to getting gear ready, doing mop-up, which is basically putting out the hot spots. Whatever they need is basically what you're doing. You get your assignments for the day, and depending on what they're doing, you head out right away or get your gear together, then head out. And it all depends on your job.
Yeah. So what could your job be? What could it range from? Could you be chopping down like a barrier so that when the fire gets here, there's nothing to burn, or could it be actually hosing?
Yeah. Well, our crews out there were involved in everything from initial attack, which involved basically patrolling a helicopter, see a smoke, get down, start attacking it right away. A lot of them were on sustained attack, which is basically doing mop-up. We refer to mop-up as going after the fire burnt over an area. You're going in with hose, shovels, getting out all the hot spots, making sure it's totally out. Structure protection, laying out some of the sprinklers that we talked about earlier. Another crew they were involved with, out there they use a lot of avalanche slides for fire breaks.
Oh.
And what they do ahead of the fire, they'll set up a controlled line either with dozer or avalanche line, soak it down the sprinkler system. Then once it's good and wet in the right weather conditions, they'll start burning ahead of it and burn into your controlled line. That way when the fire comes up, it's just going to burn into an old burn and put itself out.
It has nothing to burn.
Yeah, it worked quite effectively up there.
Really?
Yeah.
Would it have to be a large fire for that to be effective?
Yes, and you got to have the right, has to be the right conditions. You have to make sure you have a good stop before you can do it. And up there too, where it's all provincial or national park land, it wasn't really much of a problem. Like around here with the vast majority of the province is private land, and we don't really have the breaks like they do, such as the hills and valleys and,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Wow.
It is an effective tool if you have the right conditions for it.
I don't know that I'm quite sure how that works. I mean, I'm not saying you didn't give a good
Okay.
description there, but I'm not quite sure. I understand the burning part, so that when a fire gets to somewhere where it's already burnt out, it has no fuel, so it can't continue. But what about this avalanche system again?
It's basically, up there it's quite mountainous terrain,
Right.
and when the avalanches come down, they basically knock all the trees down, so it's basically what's left of a grassy or gravelly, path going down the side of these mountains.
Pretty barren.
Yeah. And they'll go in, and the few trees that are left, they'll cut them out. Then they'll set up the hose line with a sprinkler system, soak it down really good.
So they're working from the top of a mountain down?
Yeah, or bottom up or halfway, depending on
Oh, okay.
where they can get a helicopter in. Most of the times it's tried up top. They put it's called a pumpkin. It's basically a big water bag, basically. And the helicopter will fill that up, and they run the hoses off that.
Oh.
So when it's good, like say they'll soak it for 2 or 3 days prior, and then they'll start lighting the fire away from it, letting it burn in. But you got to have the right humidity and wind and weather conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite an effective tool.
How many fires do you actually start to stop a fire?
I know the big fire complex we were in, Kootenay National Park, they had at least 4 different prescribed burns.
Okay. And that's what you call them, a prescribed burn?
Yeah, or a burnout's another term for it, but it's a prescribed burn.
Okay.
And they were concerned with the Kootenay National Park fire of it getting into the Bow Valley, which is basically the main thoroughfare for the national park system with Banff, Lake Louise. Once you got out of the valley in Kootenay, it was heading straight for there with no major breaks ahead of it. So in the valley, they basically had 2 avalanche slides on both sides of it, made a dozer line, 2 of them, burnt out in between, then gradually burnt back.
Oh, okay.
And then when the fire did take off, it burnt right back into it and basically put itself out.
So they kind of dammed it off in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting, Trevor.
Yeah, it's quite a process to do.
And you could be, I guess, depending on the day, you could be, like you say, getting gear ready or being in the shop or actually being chopping trees or
Yeah.
working the avalanche system.
Yeah, do anything from initial attack, sustained attack, slow days. I shouldn't say slow days, but days when there's not quite a need for initial attack on the line or anything, and things are pretty under control. Like they're stress resources for equipment too.
Okay.
Like one day, some of our guys that were, one of our guys from Shubenacademy that deals with the pump maintenance and that, he spent a day with them getting their pumps and some of their gear ready for the next day.
Now, where would you stay when you go up there? I'm thinking, and maybe I'm wrong, Trevor, but the national park, I mean, even here in Nova Scotia, Kedgie is a vast park.
Yeah.
So they have a lot more space up there. I'm thinking the parks are very big. How far from town would you be?
The guys in Revelstoke, Revelstoke's a small park. It's kind of a sister park to Glacier National Park. And they stayed right in town, and they were about 5 minutes from the fire base.
Wow.
So they stayed in a motel in town. When you do leave on a call-out, you're going out with tent, sleeping bag, and that's where you're expected to stay.
Oh, in the field somewhere?
Yeah.
Now, you'd be sleeping somewhere where it already burnt, is it?
In a safe area. Not so much burnt. They usually have a staging area quite a distance away from the fire that's safe.
Okay.
The Kootenay National Park, they had it right around one of their park warden stations. They had a field there with an electric fence around it for bears, and that's where you put your tent.
Okay.
And they had the camps trailers brought in for your food, showers, everything you'd want was there.
Okay.
Yeah. The Revelstoke, they were given basic expense allowance to go to the restaurant at the motel.
Okay.
You know,
So, were you in the camp or were you at the...
I was back and forth between both of them.
Okay. So you either head to bed, sleep in, or you're tenting out?
Yeah. And in Kootenay, they were 20-25 minutes from Radium Hot Springs,
Okay.
so they could go down there in the evening when they get back and relax around town and that.
So how would you describe your experience there? I mean, I know it was a working trip, but...
Yeah. It was excellent. Like say, to see that part of the country, see the timber out there, and to pick up just how they do things firefighting-wise. You learn quite a bit when you go out. You know, you get a lot of good experience, meet a lot of good people. It was a real good trip.
Right. I'm just thinking, Trevor, that I've been to British Columbia when I was very young, and their trees are definitely different to ours. They're
Yes.
huge and stuff. Is there any way, you were saying earlier in the conversation that 99% of the fires are caused by lightning. There is nothing that can be done to prevent that. Obviously, lightning's going to strike, it's going to strike. But is there anything you can do on the ground to help prevent that, or? Really?
Nothing really do. With technology now, they can actually map the lightning strikes of the storm.
Okay.
Okay, and they can set up their aerial detection from that. And usually about a day or two after the lightning strike, they start getting the smoke from it. It takes a while to smolder, and it can run down the tree, down the root, and
Yeah.
come up from there.
Do you have any idea how many hectares, I guess, were lost to this fire, or to these fires?
The one we were on, I think the end of it was around 12,000 hectares. That was the Kootenai one. And Revelstoke, I think, was around 800. In BC itself, when we got there, there was about 900 fires burning.
Wow.
You know, so.
How do you recover from that? Do they go in and, like next spring, will they go in and replant, or just let nature take its course? Or?
The national park lets nature take its course. Like that's their philosophy is it's part of nature. Their national park, that's what they want, and it's amazing. You'll go back through it. Some of the parts that were burnt in the late '60s also, and nature recovered itself better than we ever could. Some of the industry, private land, to provincial land, they probably will go and reforest it. But a lot of species, some of the pines, that they need fire to release the seeds from the cones.
Yes.
So it's a natural process, and nature will heal itself.
What about the animals? Did anybody, I'm sure somebody somewhere, were animals affected, and how did humans help with that?
An air fire, we never seen too many right around the fire. I know when Danny and them went out, they seen quite a few bears on the move and getting displaced. Imagine there was some loss of, not so much a loss of habitat, but a change of habitat.
Yes.
You
Because
know,
animals are smart, and they're going to smell smoke, and they're going to move. They're
Yeah.
going to up and move, but
Yeah.
where are they going to move to? I guess that's the thing. If they move into a trailer park area, obviously they have to be dealt with, don't they?
Well, I imagine there will be a few problems with bears in the area getting displaced. Most of the, deer and the mountain goats and that they have out there will find other habitat. Now imagine there was a few lost in some of the fires when they took off and
Yeah.
were trapped and whatnot. And like a lot of the small songbirds and that, they definitely would have been, nests would have been burned out and that. But next year, they'll take care of themselves.
Yes. As you say, it's nature's course, isn't it?
And it's been going on for thousands of years.
Yeah, yeah. So in Nova Scotia, you were saying earlier, we're going to come back home here. I mean, we are very fortunate, I guess, when you see 12,000 hectares in one national park fire that you dealt with. I guess I'd like to be able to compare that to what we've had here in Nova Scotia and how recently, when was the most recent big fire here in Nova Scotia?
They had a good-sized one down Caribou Marsh in Sydney about 4 or 5 years ago. I think that burnt maybe 400 acres.
What's that compared to hectares? I'm not very good at that.
A little over 200 roughly.
Oh, okay. So really a drop in the bucket compared to this fire, isn't
Yeah. Most of our fires are here are probably less than half a hectare.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's because we have such good crews, and they get out there and they get the fire under control. Well,
Yeah,
like
we
you
think
said
so.
earlier, too. Well, I think you deserve credit there because, like you say, you have access for one,
Yeah.
which if you can get to the fire to start fighting it right away, that helps.
Yeah.
If you got to build a roadway to get there,
A lot of times helicopters are probably about 70-75% of the cost of fighting fires out west. Around here, lucky we have our own fleet of helicopters with the department. So we have excellent cooperation with the volunteer fire departments. It's right in their own backyard. They know the area. They usually get the call first. They're quick to respond. And majority of the time we get there, they have it under control. And with the large population and not too many real, wild areas to speak of, that we get quick response from the public, phone it in. A lot of these times, like say Northern Ontario, Alberta, BC, a lot of times fires are picked up from either commercial aircraft or, fire aircraft that are specific out there looking for smokes.
right.
Everything.
So if you can find smoke first, obviously you're kind of jumping it there.
Yeah, and we have fire tower operators to cover the whole province, and so we have a good early detection and quick response between us and the local volunteer fire departments.
Right. I think this is pretty interesting, Trevor. I hope our audience enjoys
Yeah, it was
this
quite
conversation. I just couldn't imagine before talking to you today what the whole scope of it was. But
No, it's pretty interesting to go out there and you see 500-600 foot flames going, and just incredible.
was there any private loss? Like, we've been talking and it's been on national parks, but was there homes destroyed? Was there logging, did it affect? I know it affected nature, but I mean, did it affect people?
Dramatically. I know I was out there at the time when Kelowna burnt. I think they lost around think it was around 240 homes, ballpark, in one sweep there. And the effect on them was unreal.
Yeah.
And the support we got from the public out there was fantastic. They'd be, supporting you 100%. And the community out there really pulled together too.
Right.
It's quite a disaster out there in some places. But there's sawmills now that their area, the mill got burnt down and all their wood resources got burnt down. So it's going to be quite a social impact on them out there. It's going to take years to recover.
I just can't imagine, like most people can't, unless you've suffered something as a tragedy as severe as a fire that took your home and your livelihood. Right now, I know if you watch the news, British Columbia is getting swamped with rain, water and stuff. I hope it's not the same areas that are trying to bounce back from the fires. But
I think the worst areas in BC when we were there were the interior areas. I think what's getting flooded now is more of the coastal.
yes, I think so. Yeah.
Actually, what we were in was the driest summer since 1929.
Wow.
Like the moss would crumble when you pick it up, it was that dry.
Oh my gosh, not a small wonder they had fires then, eh? Right. Before I leave you today, Trevor, I'd like to know, maybe you can just give us a rundown on it's the fall of the year. Hunting season has just begun.
Yeah.
What is the employees here at Department of Natural Resources gearing up to do now?
Our enforcement staff's getting ready for deer season. They're also quite busy with some crown land activities and that. This summer they're quite busy with people burning without permits and a few things like that in the parks. So that's behind them now. Some of our other staff, I know Tom Murray's quite involved with we're in the process of getting a comfort station built in the Battery Park. So,
Okay, what's this, a comfort station?
yeah, showers and flush toilets.
Oh, good, good.
So they're quite involved in that. They're also cutting a new roadway out and putting some new sites in for the larger travel trailers to accommodate them.
Good. And this is coming at just an excellent time for the Cogram with the Acadienne de Melcat,
Yeah.
which is going to happen in the next season.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful park, and now with the comfort station, it's going to be quite an attraction. But our fire crew, when they're not busy, we're not on fires, they're doing maintenance in the parks and other jobs around here. They've been quite busy working up there, cutting and hauling and everything else. And we're still involved in the private lands, checking on contractors for the forest wildlife habitat guidelines and regulations. Still a lot of crown land activity going on with Stora. People getting permits for doing work in crown land, whether it be fuel wood or putting the wharf in.
Yeah.
There's still quite a bit year-round.
Yeah. So you've got a long winter ahead of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you again for taking time out of your day today to speak to us, Trevor.
Oh, not a problem, anytime.
Thank you. I want to thank Trevor Wilkie for taking time out of his day today to speak to us. And also I want to thank the staff who provided the pictures you've seen throughout the interview. And now, a special treat. Gloria went up on the roof of the church in Petit de Grat and got some interesting footage from that perspective. So we're going to share that with you now. If you have any future show ideas or comments to make on today's show, I'd be happy to hear from you, and you can reach me at 226-1928. Thank you for watching Telile Today. I'm Rhonda LeBlanc.
À l'île, madame, qu'il fait bon. Le soleil, la mer, les oiseaux et les bateaux. À l'île, madame, qu'il fait beau. Il y a une belle église en Arichac. Je vais souvent sur le chemin d'en bas, de vieux cimetières et plein de noms français. On voit la mer entre ces pierres levées. Tous mes amis ont de jolis noms. Renal à Louis, à Gonzague, Alfreda, Boudreau, Landry, Marchand, Poirier, Tambon, Évangéline, Sanson, à l'île Madame qu'il fait beau. Ici, de l'excellente cuisine. Dans notre coin, même s'il n'y a pas de rapure, nous mangeons du bon fricot, du bon hareng et de bonne poutine. Vous savez, beurre Landry fait du bon chaud au jus de morue. Venez rencontrer les gens d'ici, les pêcheurs, les peintres, les artisans qui s'enjoy, qui vivent leur vie au milieu des champs, de la mer et du vent. Madame qu'il fait bon, le soleil, la mer, les oiseaux et les bateaux, à l'île Madame qu'il fait beau. À l'île Madame qu'il fait